Hi, and welcome to Spoken English Studies. Today we are going to look at the difference between big and large. As you can see, both are very similar to each other and sometimes can be used interchangeably if we are talking about or referring to physical size, amount, or extent. But the main difference is context and situation. So big is used more commonly and is more informal, and large is used less commonly and is more formal. Also, another difference is we cannot use big with quantity expressions, but we can use large with quantity expressions. So, let's start by looking at big in more detail. As you can see, we can use big when something is physically more than average size. So, for example, my apartment is very big. This type of sentence can also be used with large. As I said before, when we are talking about physical size, we can use the two words interchangeably. So if we are talking to our friends, for example, in an informal conversation, we can say, my apartment is very big. But if we are talking to work colleagues or we are in an academic situation or a very professional situation, then we could say, my apartment is quite large. And this is a more formal way of saying your apartment physically, the size of it is more than average. Also, we can use big when something is very important, but we cannot use large. So, for example, I want to change universities. This is a very big decision. We cannot say this is a large decision. Also, when we are referring to someone older in age than ourselves. So, for example, meet my big sister. We do not mean physically big in this sense, we mean older. And there are some other ways to use big, like when something is very successful, powerful, or of a large degree, or used to a large degree. So again, we have some examples here. London is a big multicultural city. There was a big earthquake last night. Did you feel it? This is something very powerful. And lastly, we can use the sentence, teenagers are big social media users. This simply means that teenagers use social media a lot, more than average, to a large degree. Okay, now let's look at large in more detail. As I stated before, you can use large and big interchangeably when something is physically more than average sized. Also, we can use large with quantity expressions, which are on the screen in front of you. These expressions are usually connected to how much of something there is. Another way to use large is when we are buying clothes. So usually clothes come in small, medium or large. We cannot get a big size t-shirt. We can only get a large size t-shirt. And another way to use large is when somebody is physically big. So we could say, oh, can you see the large gentleman standing in the corner? We do not usually say, can you see the big gentleman standing over there? Because big has negative connotations when we are talking about somebody's physical size. So it is more polite to say large rather than big. Now let's look at how we can use big and large with some fixed expressions. So these expressions will always be used with the same exact words. So you will always say a big deal or no big deal. You can never say a large deal or no large deal because they are fixed expressions and each expression means something. I am now going to look at and explain a few of the fixed expressions. Please, if you know some more, or you know the explanations already, or you would like to give some example sentences, write them in the comment section. Thank you. So, number 1, don't worry, it's no big deal. This simply means that it's not a problem. Big deal means something important. So, when we say it's no big deal, we mean, yes, that's fine. I can do it for you. It's not a problem. Next we have, meeting a big fish like the owner of the company can be intimidating for a new employee. So what do you think big fish could mean? Simply means somebody very important. Now let's look at they have really messed up big time. Do you think this is good or bad? As you can see, we have the phrasal verb messed up. Messed up simply means you have done something wrong. So this phrase is definitely not a good phrase. And big time means you have done something wrong to a massive degree. So they have really messed up big time. They have done something very, very wrong. Now this example is much better and way more positive than the last one. So you have to think big to achieve amazing things and to reach your goals. So to think big is simply to be ambitious. Now we have another negative example. So be careful when you are talking to Jane. She has a big mouth. So if somebody has a big mouth, they like to gossip a lot. They like to say things maybe that are not true, and they can definitely not keep a secret. Now we are going to look at an idiom. It is an idiom and a fixed expression. I can't eat anymore. I always have eyes bigger than my stomach. So what do you think this could mean? Simply, it means I always want to eat a lot and I am greedy, but I cannot finish it. So, for example, if I order a giant plate of food and I think, oh yes, I'm really happy, I have lots of food, but then I start eating and I become very full, and unfortunately I cannot finish it. Lastly, our last expression is it's really not worth my time. I've got bigger fish to fry. Simply, this just means I've got more important things to do. Now let's look at some fixed expressions used in large. So number 1, the prisoners have escaped and are at large. This one is more straightforward, simply means the prisoners are free and are not captured yet. We can also use at large in a more general way. So for example, there has been a loss of community values in society at large in the 21st century. This just means generally there has been a loss of community values. Another fixed expression is women are, by and large, the bigger consumer of beauty products. So this just means generally, overall, predominantly. And lastly, I've always thought that the CEO seemed larger than life. So larger than life means somebody that is very enthusiastic, has a very big personality, somebody that you definitely could not ignore. And to finish off today, we are going to look at grammatically how we can use big and large, what type of nouns we can use them with. So big and large can only be used with countable nouns. For example, I always take a big suitcase when I go on holiday. Suitcase is a countable noun, so this is fine. We could also say a large suitcase. Either or, it's up to you. But we cannot say, I have big knowledge about your holiday destination. Knowledge is an uncountable noun. So we need to use an expression before an uncountable noun to express the quantity or how much of this noun we want to use. So for example, big can be replaced by a lot. I have a lot of knowledge about your holiday destination. I know all the best places to go. I will give you lots and lots of information. Thank you for your time, and as usual, if you like my video, please let me know by pressing the like button, write in a comment. If you have any questions, please ask me, and make sure you subscribe. Every Wednesday we'll be looking at different confusing words.